What does it say on the other side?
I hope it didn't. I'm gonna do second sticks.
Talk to me about the housewives.
Yeah, so this is the housewives of the MSP channel.
Oh my gosh.
So the idea was, how do we encapsulate or how do we capture the MSP community? Like, what is this? And if you take a look at people that come into our space, like you came into our space brand new, how many years ago?
Almost 4.
Right. Know nothing about MSPs.
Didn't know existed.
Right.
Yeah.
And that tends to be a challenge, like for people that are investors or people that want to come and work in this space. Or what we're also finding is like a lot of people that are coming from the enterprise world are coming down here, and they come in and it's completely different than any other industry that I've ever worked in. But what we're trying to capture through this documentary is the essence of that difference. Like, why is it different?
Rob is a legend in this industry. When he talks about it, he's sincere, he's genuine about it. When Rob says, call me, I got a problem, I'm here for you, that's the truth. When he says, hey, I can help you, I can do this, that's the truth. Rob Rae is just a legend. He's the man, for sure.
Please welcome to the stage, Rob Rae, Corporate Vice President of Community and Ecosystems.
He's not fanfare. He's got that Canadian chill. He's such a genuine guy.
Part of what I wanted to do with this series was actually bring light to this community, bring light to the fact that the MSPs are here really impacting global economies worldwide.
From the moment I met Rob, I knew that he was the right guy to take our business to the next level.
I'm going to welcome to the stage some great folks with me. I got Rob Rae, CVP of Pax8.
When Rob Rae enters a room, no one else in that room exists. Full stop.
AI is going to change our world. We all know this. We all see it coming. As much as we want to resist it, we don't love change. We don't want to change. We don't want to learn something new. We just want everything to continue the way it is. But things are evolving and things are changing.
He's the type of person that is all about the relationship, and he's a long-term player and just an all-around great guy.
Most of the world's economies are driven off of small businesses. These are the people that actually enable those small businesses to work. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of capture that and bring light to what this channel actually is, because it's a beautiful thing.
Jamie, you want an English muffin. Meg, you want an English muffin. Jill?
Yes, please. So I'm not usually home on the weekends, obviously, because I'm at school. But during the summer and like during breaks, I love being home because Rob always makes me breakfast. So it's nice not to do anything. Usually before I'm even like downstairs, there's breakfast made, which is really nice. And his cooking's great. I miss like actually like warm home cooked meals, so it's nice to come home to that.
You guys know what this is? Never seen it before? So it's pretty common in Canada. It's called female bacon. It's not Canadian bacon, but it is absolutely phenomenal, and for some reason has not caught on in the United States. But for us, whenever we go to Canada, we always bring it back with us.
Usually when I come home from breaks, like it's like Rob's coming in from a flight and my mom's here.
Here you go.
Yeah. And the fridge tends to be empty. So then it's nice to know when he's coming home, because that means that there's going to be like food again.
Super happy to introduce you to my family. To my left is my wife, Marge Simpson. Her oldest is Lisa and youngest Bart. And welcome to Springfield, Connecticut. Jillian Rae, matriarch of the Rae posse over here to my left. Our third daughter, oldest here in Connecticut, Megan. And Jamie, the baby of the family, over here.
Please welcome to the stage, Rob Rae.
We have a jam-packed agenda. We got tons of content for you, tons of fun for you, and everybody here at Pax8 is super excited that you're joining us.
What I tell my friends what Rob does is he works in IT and he speaks to people for a living.
Yeah, and if they don't know what that means, I go like, the cloud? Question mark?
The cloud. Also, I say he basically does TED Talks.
Oh yeah, that's good.
My name is Rob Rae. I am the Corporate Vice President of Ecosystems and Communities with Pax8, and super happy to be your MC and host for this entire event.
I find my job as kind of, it's two parts. I've got the community aspect of it and the ecosystem aspect of it. And in our space, there's more than just the relationship between vendor and customer, or somebody providing the service and somebody that's buying the service. And there's a lot of nuances to what we actually do. That's the ecosystem part of it, which is working with all the different vendors, the integrations between all those vendors, working with the actual managed service providers and how they engage with the technologies, where they buy that technology. So there's many kind of different factors to it.
We have a jam-packed agenda, tons and tons of educational content. But honestly, the most value you're going to get out of this is engaging with each other.
The community aspect of my job, what I find is that's basically engaging with the managed service providers, kind of going to what it is that they actually need.
People want to get it to the managed services space. A lot of enterprise vendors are trying to get it to the managed services space.
What information do I need to provide that not only moves my company forward, but also moves their businesses forward? Because they're not the ultimate end user of a lot of our products. Instead, it's their customers.
We stopped transacting with people and we started transacting with technology.
So, what do I do to get them to want to purchase things from me or through me? And then what do they need in order to be successful with that? So that's where, kind of the community aspect comes in.
The channel is, think of partners and vendors and the entire ecosystem. The partners are the MSP, the managed service providers, and they sell to SMB. And there's a whole bunch of vendors surrounded by it, and they sell through this channel. And that's what the channel is. It's an interesting bunch of people working together, servicing the SMB.
So what is a managed service provider? This is probably one of the biggest challenges that all of us in our industry face. A managed service provider it's a company, it's an individual, it's a company that provides technical services, IT, hardware, software, services around it, maintenance, monitoring, managing of an IT environment, typically for small and medium-sized businesses. So if you are a small, medium-sized business and you do not have an in-house IT person, you outsource it to these individuals who will take care of everything from software, hardware, cybersecurity. Part of the responsibility of the managed service provider is to make sure that they are looking at what's new. So, we're talking a lot about AI. How will AI fit into these small businesses, the small, medium businesses? That is, in essence, the managed service provider's responsibility for making sure that their companies, their customers, the end users of all this technology stay up to date on everything. The managed service provider term, when I first came into IT, everybody was a reseller, and we would sell hardware in essence, because there wasn't much software, there's no cloud back then. We would sell hardware, and that's how you made money. You would resell hardware, which is where the name reseller came from. But a lot of the hardware companies started selling directly to end users, started bypassing the actual managed service provider or reseller at that point. So they had to reinvent themselves, which is where the term MSP came from, managed service provider. They're actually starting to charge for the services that they're providing, not just the actual hardware or the software. And that's where the term has just kind of evolved. But again, we still use it internally within our industry, but it's not something like you wouldn't advertise on Google that I'm a managed service provider. You'd probably use the term, but it's probably more along the lines of IT solution provider or IT provider.
Has there been any interest to follow in his footsteps career-wise?
I think the tech part is really interesting, not necessarily the cloud part, but
like the speaking, like in like presenting and traveling, I find interesting, but like the technology aspect, I don't really think that's for me.
My hope with this docuseries is that we can capture a couple of different things. What I want to do is tell the world about the managed service provider community. I think the other part is just capturing the nuance of this community. There's an incredible amount of sharing that happens. There's an incredible amount of people that work together, all trying to achieve a similar goal, which is keeping small businesses around the world safe. And I just happen to be the guy that gets to travel around the world and talk about this stuff. I'm in Toronto for the Canadian Reseller Awards This is an annual awards event put on by Channel Next, Technoplanet. What happens is the MSPs, the resellers from across Canada vote for their favorite vendors in a number of different categories. It's something that we actually spend a lot of time, and it's kind of acknowledgement of where we are in the market and where we stand. So I'm excited to be participating in the award show. I love many, many things about Canada. You know, we have this reputation as Canadians where we're like the nicest people on the planet. That is something that's kind of ingrained in you as a child. It's not forced on you, but it's kind of this different way of looking at things. Never take anything too seriously, but you know, we're not gonna get pushed around either. You know, I call it kind of like a social awareness. Like, we're very aware of everybody around us, and if there's an opportunity to improve somebody's life around you, we do it. And, you know, maybe that comes from a lot of our social programs because, you know, we have different politicians and, you know, we got right wing, we got left wing like every country does. But, you know, we always land somewhere in the middle. Things like, you know, pension, old age security and, you know, taking care of the impoverished and the disabled. Like, that's just something that's always been core at us. That's probably the thing that I love the most is the fact that, I mean, globally, I can go anywhere and everybody's interested in Canada. Everybody's interested in why is there's this country of people that are just so bloody nice. I grew up in Canada in a city that is just west of Toronto called Mississauga. Moved there as an infant with my parents. Basically grew up there. I was there probably until I was about 22. I had a great childhood. My parents did divorce at a very early age, but I had two parents that cared about myself and my brother very well. Overall, really happy childhood. Aspiration growing up. My earliest memory is, and I think a lot of children want to do this, is to become a vet. I just loved animals, grew up with pets, like dogs in particular. I just loved them. And always thought becoming a veterinarian would be super interesting, but unfortunately, you know, I was a good student, not a great student, and came to the part of the negative part of dealing with sick animals. Really didn't even know what I wanted to do for a living. It wasn't interesting to me. So what ended up happening was my mom worked for the Bank of Montreal, which is a pretty big bank up here in Canada. I needed a job, or my parents felt I needed a job. So my mom got me an interview at the Bank of Montreal. It would have been in the 80s, late 80s, and back then we still had bank tellers where people would come bring their checks in and cash their checks and transfer money between their accounts. This is before online banking, telephone banking, even before ATMs were in existence. So at the ripe old age of 15, I got a job interview at the Bank of Montreal as a bank teller for evenings and weekends. I didn't really want a job. I didn't want to work. I still felt like I didn't need to, didn't want to. I'd actually grown my hair out a little bit here. My parents felt that it wouldn't be appropriate for a job interview to go in with long hair. So the day of, literally, they cut my hair for me and still told me to get a haircut. I refused to get a haircut. I mean, this is your main, right? This is your power, your strength. And yeah, unfortunately, it was a little bit of a battle, but they ended up cutting my hair, throwing a jacket on me, and then took me out to this job interview at this branch in Meadowvale. My mom was so paranoid that I was going to screw up this interview because these were her friends and she had referred me and she, you know, was asking for them to take a look at me, that she actually came into the job interview with me to make sure I was not going to screw it up. I probably said 2 words the entire time. She did all the talking for me. And because again, I'm just sitting there not wanting a job or anything like that. I ended up getting the job. And actually I ended up really loving the job and then spent the next 12 years working for the Bank of Montreal. So back then, there was a minimum wage. You know, all my friends were getting jobs at like fast food joints and, you know, getting paid minimum wage. Working for a bank was a little more lucrative. It wasn't life-changing by any means, but it definitely was a little bit better than the average 15, 16, 17-year-old was making in high school. So, you know, that for me was really cool. And it was being a teller. It was interacting with human beings. And what I learned then was that not knowing what you want to do with the rest of your life, especially at such a young age, I realized that I wanted to be in finance, in banking. But I also learned that sales is a little bit more than just trying to push something onto somebody for something that they don't need or want. And I kind of learned that lesson real early in life as a result of, hey, if I can demonstrate value for you, you're going to buy it. And, you know, that for me was kind of this moment where I found a passion for sales and selling. So I graduated from high school. I've been with the bank now for a number of years, feeling very comfortable with what I know and, you know, a lot of the policies and process that we had there, and was really having a good kind of what I felt was a good growth as far as my career goes. But now it's time for college. And the bank had a phenomenal program where they would actually compensate you to go to university. Unfortunately, you know, we didn't have a ton of money, and it wasn't anything that my parents could necessarily afford. You know, you start looking at the student loan rates, but now I got to quit my job and go and do this full time. So what I decided to do instead was work full time, go to school part time. So it's going to take me a long time to get a degree in it, but I was still earning an income. I was still able to survive on my own. So you have this kind of freedom, but then again, you're working and going to school 18, 19 hours a day. And at that time, the woman that I was dating, we got married very, very young, and we got pregnant very quickly. Not planned, but definitely you know, a blessing. And then what happens is, you know, now you're working 18, 19 hours a day, and now you have a child. And something had to give. Obviously, leaving your job is not the option. I got to pay for diapers and formula and all those types of things. So school was the one that got sacrificed with the intent that I'll always go back, but I can't not earn an income, especially because I'm living on my own. I'm supporting a wife and now a child on the way. So, you know, quit school and really invested all my time into growing and trying to expand my career. I'm very fortunate where the managed services space in Canada is growing like crazy. Toronto was no exception. The city is thriving. The managed service providers up there are thriving, which means there's a lot of events that actually happen up there, which means I get a lot of opportunity to return home and go and see and spend time with my family while I'm up there. A lot of people do assume, I mean, based on my role, based on how many people I meet, based on how I socialize. I really try to put myself out there. I really try to be where everybody is. And a lot of people assume that just means you're an extrovert, but I actually don't identify that way. For me, I get into the mob, have these conversations, you know, meet hundreds and hundreds of people, but I always need that kind of like few minutes just to walk away and, you know, get away from everything for a few minutes, whether it's going to make a phone call or, you know, calling home or something along those lines, just to recharge and then jump right back into the mess. But, you know, I think a lot of our industry, you know, because we're in the IT space, a lot of people think of us as introverts, but it's just knowing how to work with introverts. But it doesn't necessarily mean we hate people or dislike being around people. I learned a long time ago, it was actually it was somewhat job related, and maybe goes back to the, you know, kind of the time when I left sales for a bit. It's like you can pretend to be somebody else for a certain period of time, but at some point in time, your true self is actually going to come out. And what drives you, what makes you passionate, and all those things are going to come out. You can only be fake for so long before, you know, everybody starts realizing, you know, that fakeness. There's a change in the way in which we look at and recruit people. I am a college dropout. I didn't finish college, but you know, I feel like I got into the workforce a little bit earlier than a lot of people my age, a lot of my friends. But, you know, I see these days, you know, a lot of kids are, like, the expectation, especially in places like Canada and the United States, the expectation is that you got to go to college, you got to go to university. And I think my daughter's school, my youngest daughter's school, like 97% of the children actually went on to secondary education. That was not the way when I was younger. You know, it's funny because, you know, even during that time, you know, even in IT, it was a college degree was going to help you get a job. There were some larger vendors in our space that would not hire, wouldn't even look at your resume unless you had a college degree, regardless of your experience. So for me, I actually don't care. A lot of it's just relationship building. A lot of it's being human. I'm interviewing somebody. You know, you want to find somebody that you like, because a lot of what we do out here is socializing. It's relationship building. Learned this a long time ago. People like to do business with people they like. There's a lot of forgiveness in the relationship. If you can build a relationship, and our community is focused a lot around that relationship piece. If you can build that relationship, there's a lot of forgiveness when you make a mistake, if there's an issue, if there's a bug in the tech, if your prices are too high, whatever. There's a lot of forgiveness when you actually have a relationship with somebody, because again, people like to do business with the people that like. So when I'm out there hiring, I'm actually looking for people that I like and others will like. So that's kind of how I go about it. You know, the resume is important. A work experience is important depending on, you know, what you're looking for, you know. in our role, in our place in life, education is not important. There's a lot of CEOs, like you'll meet a lot, and over the course of this, that are, you know, multimillionaires and do not have college degrees. The drive, as much of a pain in the ass as it might be, I'll make that drive every time I'm there to come and see the family. The place that we're actually having dinner at, it's a pretty special place. It's really cool because it's on the outskirts. It's in a small town, but it's also a place where Taylor herself had her wedding shower.
Anytime that I've leaned on Rob, it's to going into interviews or being able to speak to the president of the company and understand, you know, what's the proper dialect? What kind of questions do I ask? Understanding, like in my space now, being in the tech space, you know, I asked them, what are they looking for on an interview? Because I've never been in this space before. I've always been in housewares, or I've been in, you know, some kind of consumer packaged goods. So that's where I've really leaned on him for things.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers, guys.
Definitely a lot more than just a salesperson. Like he has that hard work ethic where he's dedicated to the art. He can bring in those details and make it personable to everybody in the room.
Yeah, you can tell he actually like cares about what he's doing. He is not just peddling some product, door-to-door salesman style. Like, no, he cares about the industry that he's in, the future of the industry that he's in, and the trajectory that they're on.
He definitely has a real passion for it. And like, it just even like for work, I think that's where his passion stemmed. When he had Taylor, that's when he started really working hard because he realized what he had to do for his family.
ChatGPT wrote my Christmas party speech and I got a standing ovation.
Yes, of course. It's brilliant that way. If you use it for simplistic things, but this will get smarter. Now, you ask what the end game is? It's going to be robots. It will be robots. And robots will have AI in them, and you'll be able to interact with them in every single level.
So our parents separated when we were 8 and Rob was 9. My mom instilled the stay in the job, grind it out, 9 to 5, take your lunch, that kind of thing. And my dad was more like the entrepreneur and go after it. And, you know, if you want to create something, then create it. He gave us this natural, instinctual process in developing concepts and ideas. And I think that's why, you know, Rob's been so successful, is that he's reinventing the wheel in his space. I don't think that he gets that from my mom. He gets that from my dad, because that's what my dad did.
And think about this, okay? What happened during the Industrial Revolution during the 18 to 1900s? Right, where all of a sudden, like as blue-collar workers, there were people that were on manufacturing lines that were doing a job. Now machines were coming in and replacing them. They were panicking. They were freaking out. What am I going to do for a living? I sit here and I stamp this every single day, and now I've got a machine that's going to replace me. What am I going to do every single day? Did he supervise it, manage it, manufacture it, support it?
It's taking jobs, but it's
creates new jobs. That's exactly what it is, right?
He coached my softball team from when I was 8 years old until I was 18. So from my beginnings of softball to when I ended it. And he taught me the core values of like, you're part of a team. You need to be there at practices every week. And you need to be there at the games. You need to perform. You need to have the drive to do better every single time. You need to be able to improve on your last performance, take constructive criticism. You need to be able to just grow and everything with it.
You're not hardcore unless you live hardcore, and that's the way he lives. Like, I rebelled against that for so long, and like it took me being an adult to understand like that's coming from a good place, not just like a
grow because you're a snotty teenager, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As adults now, we realize like, okay, he's put like a lot of time, sweat, blood, effort into this, and he's worked his way to the top. He was a teller at BMO when I was born. He was doing part-time university when I was 2-3. We would play a game where we'd search for milk money in the couch. Like, we came from that, and he's up at this huge stature now, and it's amazing to see.
We just are going to find different ways to manage it. Now, controls, regulations, compliance, all has to come into play. It's the Wild West right now. Very similar to when the internet first came out. Now there are levels of control, right? And there will be levels of control around this at some point, but only when it starts kind of getting dangerous.
Our parents were 20 and 21 when they had me, and like a couple years later they had Sid. So like they were kids raising kids. They were just like working off the cuff. They did what they knew what was best, and they were learning from the generation previous to them. So they were just kind of doing their best.
He's definitely exhausted at some points. Like he's like, oh, I don't want another hotel dinner. I want a home cooked meal. Because of that, he really values like the times he is home, and it makes it more impactful.
It can be lonely on the road too, because at the end of the night, you're just going back to an empty hotel room every single time. And you know what? You could have made like $500 million that day, whatever the hell, like it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, like it's who you spend your off time with and who you want to have with you when you're on your own at those times, who you want to call for that support. He takes the time out of his day to definitely call me if I ask him, anything like that. If I am struggling with my mental health, anything like that, he's like, I'm here for you, whatever you need. Just say, I need 5 minutes of your time. I'll be there.
In 2025, our mission is to celebrate Canadians a lot more, a lot better, all right?
Go Canada, go!
If you had to put us against all the states in the US, Canada would be the 3rd largest state, not the 51st, if you know what I mean.
So we're at the Canadian Reseller Choice Awards tonight, and it's been a phenomenal experience, as it is every single year, and Pax8 did really well.
And our winner is
Pax8, all right. The Reseller Choice Awards started some 19 years ago, and the mission was, how do we help the MSPs have a voice, the channel partners? And we decided we didn't want to just randomly be subjective in giving vendors and distributors awards, so we asked the MSP partners to vote. So Rob, the future of cloud.
I mean, we made a bet when we started the company that we were only going to go with cloud. We only sell SaaS, and that's with great vendors like these guys here. So super excited about this and where all that growth is coming from.
We had some, I think we started maybe 20 categories. Today we have about 70 categories. So the voice of the MSPs and channel partners are translated directly to the vendors and MSPs and the distributors. And the mission was, how do we recognize and thank those who are doing great for the channel, but also how do we encourage the others to do better for the channel partners?
So trying to explain the IT services channel to parents, to children, has been a challenge for my entire career. However, it's easily summed up as a community. It's a small, medium business group of like-minded individuals trying to deliver services to other SMB. It's an incredible time for this industry, even more so than it ever has been before. One of the things I'm most proud of is the opportunity to work with so many great individuals, and Rob Rae is certainly at the top of that list.
We want to hear a finger drum roll on the table, please.
All right.
Finger drum roll for the #1 channel chief.
In Canada.
Here we go.
Probably the world.
Woo! Rob Rae.
He's the type of person that is all about the relationship, and he's a long-term player and just an all-around great guy. And people like Rob really make it worth it. Building those relationships. I met Rob because of this industry. And that type of relationship, those are lifelong relationships.
This community has just been absolutely phenomenal, and I've been blessed to be a part of this all the way back from 30 years ago and now up to today. Like, I mean, it's such a beautiful community that we're all part of. And this is a absolutely phenomenal honor, and I appreciate this.
We got Best Partner Program, which is a new program for us, so I'm very happy about that. Cloud Vendor, Best PRM, lots of really, really good awards and great recognition for us. For myself personally, winning Channel Chief of the Year, the #1 Canadian Channel Chief, it's something I've aspired to get this recognition. As much as it's awesome, you know, it's a recognition of all the people that I've kind of like engaged with, all the people that I've worked with over the last 25 years that I just absolutely love. And it's such an honor just to be personally recognized for this. It is a team effort. This is not something that, you know, I did or even the team that was at the particular events did. It's always an extension of everybody that works for the organization.
The more we listen to them, the more we help our partners, the more they grow, the more we benefit as vendors. And I think that's probably the critical part of it. It's all about that relationship piece of it. It's all about just being there for them when they need us. And that is the part where they end up growing, we end up growing, and we all succeed at the end.
Pax8! Yeah!
Rob Rae is a force. He's doing more travel week to week, month over month, and he really truly cares about the MSP.
How are you?
Way to go, boys. Congratulations.
Rob is always thinking about managed service providers, almost to a fault.